Joint assessment for the spine. The first assessment we see here is primarily to focus on the alignment of the shoulders, hips and knees, and to make sure that they are all in line. As we see, the model here, his shoulders, hips and knees are perfectly in line with no obvious contraindications. The next assessment is to do from the side and focus on the line of the shoulder, hips and knees, as well as the location of the ear to make sure that they are all in line. The third assessment is now from a back view and again is almost identical to the first assessment, focusing on the levels of the shoulders, hips and creases of the knees to make sure they are all in line. The first movement we see here is to assess the flexing of the spine. To do this, you need to get the client to put their chin on their chest and flex each section of the spine as much as possible. Once they are flexed possible, you need to evaluate, see if there are any flat spots to the spine which indicate an issue. The next assessment is to be done is the extension of the spine. To do this, you need to get the client to place their hand on top of their buttocks with their fingers pointing downwards. From there, you then need the client to bend backwards as much as they can, adding support if they need it. Again, assessing flexion, the next assessment focuses on the lateral flexion. With the client standing with their feet shoulder width apart, the client then needs to bend sideways as far as possible to both sides. Make sure the client isn't bending forwards whilst performing this action. Next, you need to get the client sitting down so that you're able to get an aerial view of the client's upper body. Once in this position, you need to get the client to fold their arms and hold them at shoulder height. This will be the starting position. In this position, the client must twist to one side and you need to focus on the angle of the shoulder from the midline. Get the client to twist to the other side and record the result. This will show any issue with the rotation of the spine. Again, on the same position, arms by the client's sides, get the client to twist their back to one side as far as possible and record the position. And then get the client to turn their head in the other side and record the result. The next assessment will be done from a frontwards view. From the front of the client, you then need to have them put one ear to the same shoulder and see how far they can get it to their shoulder. After evaluating one side, you then have the client do the other side and record the result. Again, from the side of the client, get them to look up as much as possible, pushing their chin to the ceiling to see how far the neck can go. Next, in the opposite direction, get them to put their chin as close to their chest as possible and see how far they can go. Lastly, from the same position, you need to get the client to push their head as far forward as possible, whilst keeping their head still and straight. This is called protraction. Next, we get them to go in the opposite direction, pulling their head as far back whilst keeping their head straight. This is called retraction.